welcome to the Relationship Revivalist podcast. My name is John, and I am here with my amazing wife and co-host, Jess.
Hey, John.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. We are actually recording the night before this thing comes out, and we have just experienced our Christmas day. Mm-hmm. So that... our Christmas was a good Christmas, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yes, I would say so. It was better than last year, I have to admit.
Yes.
We had a couple of things happen, but now...
Now we are doing some amazing things. Like you said, we did have a few things that happened last year that kind of threw us off our groove.
Right.
And now, this year, we were actually able to put into action the whole Christmas thing, have family over.
Yes, we had a lovely time with family, a couple days in a row. It was great. We had family at our house, and then we did something. We had another event with family, so it was really, really lots of fun.
It really was. So, we're literally at a point where Christmas is now in the past, and we're looking forward to now New Year's. And when we think about New Year's, the first thing that we think of is New Year's resolutions.
Yep, we are looking to the future now.
So when we think of New Year's resolutions, what's the first thing that usually comes to mind?
I usually think of, why make a New Year's resolution? Because it probably won't happen anyway, because we know the statistics of New Year's resolutions not happening because people have great intentions the first week and then goes downhill from there.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at like the signups for gyms, for instance. You know, the first month people are just like swarming to the gym. We're going to get in shape and we're going to do this, you know. It's just there's no quit in January, but once you get to February and March, it starts fading off drastically because they don't have the drive that they once had.
And I think it just kind of, makes the regulars at the gym really frustrated because it's harder to get a parking spot in January, and it's like, just wait until February, March. It'll be
that's so true.
Easy to get in again.
Exactly, and maybe they come at different times if their schedule allows for that. But the whole point of that is that we have mindsets that can literally sabotage what we really want to get done, right?
Oh, it all starts in the mind, doesn't it?
It does.
That's right.
And so when we have the mindset of Christ, just like we're supposed to have, we can do all things through Christ.
That's right.
And so how do we get to that point where we can actually do things where we don't sabotage ourselves? Like our relationships, we make a resolution on New Year's to have a fabulous, amazing, out-of-this-world relationship.
Yeah, but how do you get to that place, and what makes a fabulous, amazing, out-of-this-world relationship for you?
So I think you and I have learned a couple of things recently, and so I'm going to take you through a brief little story here about this, and it starts back in the Old Testament of the Bible where God says to Moses, Moses says, "Who should I say has sent me?" And what does Yahweh say? He says, "Tell them that I am sent you."
I love that.
And
I am.
So we are created in His image. Is that not correct?
This is very true.
Okay. So if Yahweh says, "I am," tell him that I am sent me, we can start saying things to ourselves every day, every morning, every night. However often you want to do that, but at least start it with in the morning when you start your day. Start saying who you are. Say, "I am," and fill in the blank. Like, here's some real basic ones you could start saying. Just play with this for the next, few days. Say, "I am healthy. I am strong. I am worthy. I am loved. I am," you want to...
You're doing great, John.
Okay.
But the point is to say things about yourself that are true, but also that you want to feel and see more of happening in yourself. Like John said, I'm worthy and I'm loved. I think so many of us have such a hard time really receiving that and accepting that. And so the more we say it, so we've been talking about how powerful our words are and how powerful our mindset is. The more we say it and read it and believe it, the more we'll really believe it. And then it'll come out in our actions and our words toward others too.
And this can happen immediately to, it can just, through, from right now to a day, 2-3 days, 2-3 months. It probably shouldn't be longer than 2-3 months, because if you say this every day on a repetitious basis, you're going to have that click moment where it's like, oh my word, it's like, so what I used to do for the last, I don't know how many years, I used to work with computers, and computers need to be programmed. Our brains are our computer, basically, and we get to program that so that our brains can tell our spirit, our heart, how to go about what we want done during the day, and so that we don't sabotage ourselves. And unfortunately, through the growing up period, for the first, I think it's for the first 5 to 7 years, our parents get to say how we think. And we all know that if you don't have a good role model, you're not going to have anything that you can actually rely on to give yourself that awesome mindset to go very far.
And a lot of times, our parents are well-meaning, but they only know what they learned. And so sometimes they give maybe incorrect information because, maybe their parents only, knew a certain amount about mindset and everything. And so we've seen that in families, haven't we, John, where people have had, like, you can see it throughout the generations. Maybe people have struggled with the same thing, like low self-image, for example. That runs rampant in families. But thinking about who you are in Christ and saying it out helps you put it on.
Yeah.
And then you really believe it.
Exactly.
And, we really can't love each other properly if we don't love ourselves properly. And so God is love, and he pours his love out to us. He wants us to know how much we're loved, and then we can show that love. We can reflect that love to others too. So you really have to start on yourself before you can show that love to anyone else.
Good thoughts, and that's really the truth there, because God wants the best for us. We want the best for you, and there's some roadblocks that we get put in front of ourselves, so that we either A, sabotage, or B, we give up, or C, we try, and then hopefully we don't fail miserably. But so here's the biggest thing about life, period, really. I would say 80 to 90% of people, they honestly really want the best, and they honestly go out and they try to do what they can. But one of those things I think that really tends to get in the way, especially if you're a guy, is pride. And you want to know, guys, they can go out there and look good, and they want to make sure that they are just pleasing their partner, and just really doing all that they can to put food on the table, to give them the luxuries or just the necessities, really, so that their family can not have that stress that is, it's caused a lot of things negatively in a relationship. And if you get rid of that pride, what is the next step? Or if you get rid of the pride, the next steps after getting rid of that pride is pretty much going to be love, right? You're going to have a more loving relationship. You get rid of that pride. And they say that, pride comes before the fall, right? So we don't want to fall, so we get rid of the pride. And that's going to do huge things to your relationship that... And
I think a big part of getting rid of pride, kind of to combat that, is to give things to the Lord, to trust Him with situations. Because I know, it can weigh on men and women, like financial issues, for example. But I think because men have been taught traditionally that men are the providers, traditionally, I think a lot of times they take it harder even if there's a financial issue that comes up in a family. And so instead of being prideful and thinking, well, I have to go do this myself and go solve this problem myself, why not trust the Lord, bring Him into it, give it to Him, and ask him to work it out. We've done that numerous times, and it always works out for us when we do that. And John, also, a lot of times when someone makes a resolution in the new year, I think they often make it too big. Like they want to make everything in their lives perfect all at one time. And then, we know that that's pretty insurmountable and pretty hard to do. And I think that's another reason why people kind of fall flat with their resolutions and they just kind of drop them along the wayside. So we would encourage you, when you're making your New Year's resolution this year for your relationship, to have an amazing relationship, pick one thing. Just start with one thing, one little thing, and really make a habit of doing it and cultivating that one thing in your relationship before you take on anything else.
So how long should you do that?
I would say until you really see the fruit of it manifest in your life.
Okay. And then what's going to help you to see, or what key can you have how should I say this? How do you know when you're done?
How do you know when you're done? That's awesome, John. That's the male question there. How do you know when you're done? How do you know when you've achieved it, right? Well, again, I would just, try it on for size where you maybe say I'm going to do this really, really well for 1 or 2 weeks and see where it takes you.
Okay.
Because you might find at the end of those 2 weeks that maybe it's working so well. And of course you want to keep doing that because it's working. Or maybe you find that journey led you to another part of the journey somehow. And now you're going to work on something else. You'll know when you get there.
Awesome. So what I'm hearing is basically you want to have one thing that you're going to work on. And I don't know if you said this or not, but did you say, so that one thing you want to kind of stretch it just beyond where you normally would go?
Well, that's a good one, John.
So so take that one thing and stretch it just a little bit further than what you would normally do. It's kind of like building muscles in the gym, right? And then you get to that point where, hey, I can do this all the time, right? And then you get the success part, and you're like, oh, I like this. This is growing on me, and I want to do this some more. And then you're saying, keep doing it for a couple of weeks, and you see the fruits, and you're like, oh. And then after that, you just keep moving into and flowing in who you want to become, right?
Right. And so, it's important to get yourself out of your comfort zone.
Oh, the big comfort zone thing, huh? So I've heard this a lot in other businesses and stuff, where you want to make being out of your comfort zone your new comfort zone.
Yep, exactly. So, for example, maybe you're someone who feels like they talk kind of sharply to their spouse, and you want to change that a little bit because you don't really like how that feels. You don't like how it feels when you're done talking sharply to them. And you want to give them the benefit of the doubt that, they're probably doing what they think is best, and maybe, you could relax a little bit and talk a little bit more loving to your spouse. That might be the one thing that you pick, and you make that resolution for the next week or 2 weeks. I'm going to resolve to answer in a loving way, however that is for you.
Yeah, and make up a statement that is positive and in the now, not in the past or the future, but in the now of how you want to be. So it's kind of a mind twister, but it's basically going along the same lines of calling things that are not yet as though they are. And that's where the faith comes into play. And you work that for a few days. You start seeing small little changes. And then over the course of time, your small little changes turn into, you have a before and now that's drastic. And you love the after. So this is going to be very huge in your New Year resolution. If you can just don't go out and do that big, long, extreme New Year's resolution, like, hey, I'm going to make it a resolution that I'm going to be married happily forever after as of today. So instead of doing that, just find one part of your relationship that you know needs to have work, and talk to your spouse about this. Say, let's work on this part of our relationship. Let's be the students of our relationship so that we can become masters of relationship. And once you become the masters of relationship, wow, can you just imagine what you're going to have in front of you, right before you? You're going to have a spouse that is madly in love with you, and vice versa. Isn't that exciting?
It's so exciting, John. And also someone to link arms with and to walk through life with, too. That's so powerful to have that person that you are united front with and madly in love with.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I wanted to share with you one of my statements that I like to say. I am patient with my husband and always give him the benefit of the doubt. So that's one example of like one thing to work on in your relationship.
And I think that is a good note that we can just say, we wish you guys we wish you had an amazing Christmas, and that your New Year is absolutely off the charts. And you can start by doing just the things that we suggested to do. That will make your New Year's amazing because you're going forward.
And your future can look very bright. So
Exactly.
just, small chunks and pick one thing at a time to work on.
We're going to end our podcast today with that. We encourage you to visit us on the web at therelationshiprevivalists.com. That is with an S at the end. Also, meet us up on social media. The links to social media will be on our show notes as well as the web page. And we will see you next week right after the New Year's. So
I can't wait.
we will see you guys later.
See you later.